Hey friends, welcome to Tech Smarter. My name is Abby Ritchie. I am the tech guru at the Smarter Service, and you can find me here every Wednesday talking with people who are actively engaged in aging services. I am so excited to bring my guests on, but before I do that, if you are a senior living operator and you need some tech support for your residents, and I know their questions have questions, go ahead and reach out to us. The Smarter Service has professionalized this type of support for your residents. And if you're watching this and your parents need support, reach out to us as well. We have a way to help them in home as well as virtually. And you can always connect with me here on LinkedIn. I'd like to thank our sponsors today, LeadingAge Arizona, as well as the Smarter Service for producing this episode. And without further ado, let me bring on Jaime Roberts of LeadingAge Arizona. Welcome back to Tech Smarter, Jaime.
Thanks for having me, Abs.
You're welcome. Jaime, you've been on Tech Smarter several times, and you live right here in the Phoenix area, and we've been able to do a lot of things together. And I'm so excited to hear about the upcoming conference, as well as any new and exciting legislation that's occurred within Arizona's legislation. And so I'm really excited to hear about things that have progressed for you as well. Before we get started, could you please introduce yourself to our audience, how you happened upon senior living, what you do with LeadingAge Arizona?
Yes, well, hello everyone. I'm Jaime Roberts. I'm the CEO of Arizona LeadingAge. Arizona LeadingAge is an association primarily of nonprofit or mission-based senior living providers. So the entire continuum of aging services, all the way from independent, affordable housing, independent assisted, skilled, memory care, hospice, home health, home care, behavioral health, adult day, the whole continuum. That's our membership. And so we do a lot of work in the state of Arizona to support our members for the incredible work that they're doing. And whether that is from advocacy work, but also through education and networking support to make sure that they find the right other business partners like Smarter Service to help them solve some of their biggest problems.
Yeah, and we know that some of the biggest innovation has been around this digital divide and how we're helping older adults connect with family and friends by the use of technology. And I'm just curious, because I know that you are in the trenches all the time. How is Arizona LeadingAge using the upcoming conference to help people and help providers tap into innovation?
I think there's a kind of a theme in all of the abstracts that were submitted, all of the, anyone who is presenting at the conference, there is definitely a theme on innovation and working smarter, not harder. And it's been layered through there. Our conference is the theme of our conference is momentum. And it was really there was a reason behind that, because there's been a real shift, I would say, in our from our operators over the last few years. I mean, people have stopped asking, should we, and started asking, how do we? And that's really been the shift. And so that's the momentum that we're seeing. And a year ago, the conversations that I was having with members were largely around survival. I mean, things around staffing, reimbursement, how to keep the lights on. And those pressures have not gone away, but there's been a real pivot and more towards forward thinking and strategy. And people are now looking at technology. They're looking at workforce culture. And it's not just what's happening next quarter, but what are we doing in the next 5 years? So the theme momentum it's not aspirational. It's actually very descriptive of what we're seeing in the environment today.
Yeah, and I love how you said just a couple of years ago, we were basically talking about survival. And while that's still occurring in several communities, we're now moving into, instead of a need to have, a must have. And like we find at the Smarter Service that the opportunity of providing tech support at the community is no longer just a nice to have, but it's really a need to have. when we're talking about the residents and their needs as they're moving into communities with, 7 or so devices, and we don't want to send them outside to get the help that we need. But we also know that this really puts a big demand on the staff internally, not to mention IT departments, to support residents with their needs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think this is one of those things that seem pretty obvious. But once you say it out loud, it's nobody's actually saying it. So it's interesting that we always have this conversation, right? Organizations will spend a ton of money on technology, whether it's telehealth platforms or smart devices for the community to use, or communication tools. And then they hand the tablet to the 87-year-old new resident and wonder why the adoption rate might be low, right? So, which is why what you do is so important. I mean, the technology is only as good as the person helping the resident. And so I think having that dedicated tech help and support concierge model isn't a luxury anymore, or ever, quite frankly, was. It's the difference between a tech investment that works or really ending up being an expensive paperweight, right? So I think to bridge the gap between technology and usage, you need the human being. You need the empathy. You need the person that has the patience, the time, and the basic skill knowledge to work with somebody over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're working with a resident, they wrote letters with their hand on a piece of paper with a pen and licked the envelope and put it in the mail. And, that's you have a huge gap between, what they did when they were our age versus, what they're expected to do today. And so having a tech concierge, being able to support them, it is absolutely part of a strategy that I think the smart operators have picked up on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for saying it. And it's actually not in all for the resident. It's also for the adoption of the technology that the community is installing, right? Mm-hmm. So, we found that on average, if you're looking at an engagement platform, just about maybe 20% of an engagement platform's features are being utilized. And without someone who's like internally championing that piece of technology on a regular basis, it starts getting used less and less. And like you mentioned, it then becomes a very expensive paperweight if those features are not being explained. So it's also just reintroducing the features of the engagement platforms, or talking about Amazon boxes or thermostats in the home, whatever the case is. It's a continuous conversation that allows the technology that an operator is purchasing to be used to its full extent.
Right. The ROI is there. It is definitely there. And I think in ways, some of the operators who are using this mindset are probably seeing the ROIs in areas they didn't even expect they were going to see it, right? So even from using those internal, like if you have an internal system that you're using for your life plan campus, for example, work orders, like being able to track work orders effectively, and you can really then use that to manage your team's time and energy a little bit more with real data, and not like we're guessing this, during budgeting, and really looking at those data platforms and all that technology that you were guessing before. And you bought the technology thinking it was going to make you solve that problem. But then when you're looking at the adoption rate, it didn't, right? And so having somebody in there to help and remind and go over and over and over again, because sometimes we have to, adult learning says 7 times, right, for an adult to understand something, and having the patience to do that, and the gentleness and the kindness to be able to go back and continue to remind somebody of the process, because it's not intuitive if you didn't learn it out of the womb, like many of the kids today have, right?
Yeah. I'm, in fact, at the conference, I'm talking about the hidden ROI of having this type of tech support within your community, how it impacts on so many different levels that a lot of people are not looking at, or it doesn't show up on a spreadsheet, for instance. So I will be talking about that. But there are other tracks that I'm also totally interested in, especially ones that are on AI and AI made simple. If we're we've been talking about AI for a while. It goes from being a scary buzzword to like a practical hands-on tool for long-term care. And how is this conference going to be sharing that news?
It is a buzzword, AI. And then some people smile, some people cringe. But I mean, here's what I would say to the skeptical CEO, administrator, executive director is that nobody's asking anyone to become a technologist, right? I mean, that's not the overnight, but what sessions that are happening at our conference, like Dr. Luster's session and Chris Bloomquist session, it's really kind of stripping away the hype and getting to, okay, but how does this actually help me do my job on Tuesday afternoon? How is this thing that you're talking about that seems so abstract? Like, how do I actually implement this and make my Tuesday afternoon deadline easier? And so if, AI is, you hear this as like kind of a global conversation that, they're taking our jobs. It's going to be all these things. And I'm sure there'll be certain jobs that AI can do better, but our industry is really like the majority of what we need to do is human centered, human focused. Empathy has to track. We have to be able to connect with somebody. Human connection is literally at the foundation of what any of our operators are doing. So I think AI being able to be curious and not judgmental, like Walt Whitman said, right? Be curious about it, because if there's a workflow that you can improve and you could spend more time on your face-to-face, those are positive things. I think there's also really incredible AI tools that are going to help support social determinants of health. I mean, things like falls, medication, social anxiety. I mean, all of these other things that some of these AI tools can help predict to improve total health outcomes. We're already seeing those being used. And you know what that does? It allows the caregiver, it allows the front desk concierge person to spend more time with the resident talking to them, because they're not busy doing all of the busy paperwork that's also required. So if there is skepticism around AI, I can completely appreciate that. But we deliberately built tracks to be more hands-on and practical and not theoretical this year. So I would say, if you're skeptical, come. Be skeptical, that's fine, but just come.
Yeah, and say hello, please. Yeah. So, I noticed also that there's a session on the marketing of humanity and how we balance that in senior living in an increasingly digital and automated sales landscape. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious how that'll be handled in terms of using automation, but also being present, like you mentioned, so that because the true essence of what we're doing is one-on-one and engaging people where they're at.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, 100%. I mean, I think the one gift I think AI gave to our industry is it completely, I mean, because people are skeptical and they don't want to talk to a bot and they don't, they want human connection. I think it made the value add of what our members do exponentially more valuable. So the marketing piece of it, I think there's super smart technology that you can use to get laser focused on the person that you're trying to market to, right? That stuff all exists. Workflows that happen. I mean, lead systems, all of that stuff. I mean, it's really incredible what's happening in that space. But that only gets you to step one. I mean, after you have all that information, you have to be a human being to connect with the other human being. You have to show value at that, because they're not buying a widget. They're buying a lifestyle. They're looking for support systems, or they're looking for help with an adult day program. And they want to know that if they're putting their loved one in the adult day program, that the people there are nice and lovely and like understand, what the issues are with their person. So the skill set of being able to communicate and talk to somebody, explain things to somebody, that's actually becoming quite the asset, and probably a lot of job security coming around with it, because people are desperate for it. And so I think senior living, senior housing, anything in our industry is ripe to be able to produce that. If you are a people person and you're a connector, this is your place. This is where you belong.
Yeah, we found that our tech concierge, we always say that they have high EQ over IQ, because they have and provide that type of personal human connection. And that's really where the Smarter service shines. So, another of the sessions I saw was on Alzheimer's precision medicine. And this is really where high tech meets high touch care of memory loss.
Right.
And how can clinical innovations help personalize care so it feels more like a lifestyle and less like clinical monitoring?
Yeah. So, I mean, like we're having Dr. Cabral come, and that's exactly where the industry needs to go for too long. Take any condition, but specifically we talk about brain change and dementia, because I think when families come in, that's the one thing everyone's super interested, because it's the one thing nobody wants. So they're always like, tell me more about that. Everyone's very curious about it, but with any medical condition, whether it's, COPD or maybe you have some osteoporosis, whatever the other, ailments that you might be having, that we might be seeing in kind of a large cluster of bases, like, those, for too long, we've tried to do a one size fits all model for those approaches. So, like, here's the diagnosis, here's your protocol. I mean, it sounds super clean. People love that. Like, that's like, it's a nice box, right? Like this is what you do with X, Y, and Z. I mean, life is very gray. It's not black and white. And neither is the disease process. People, they have, I mean, just heart disease alone. I mean, women have different issues with heart disease than men. I mean, there's not a clear path there. So I think the precision medicine flip that is happening is really focusing on the person. And I will say that I think long-term care has never given themselves enough credit for this, but they were the ones who really focused. I mean, they were the ones who really introduced person-centered care. And that idea of understanding the whole person really came out of the work that our members do in any of these long-term care settings. And coming back to that and honoring that and championing that needs to happen in every healthcare setting and beyond, right? I mean, understanding the whole person as they're trying to provide the best care and services to them, it's incredibly powerful. Now, I'll say technology can help maybe build a plan that's meaningful, maybe giving you better questions to ask to pull some of that information out. But to be able to integrate that information into direct daily care is really where I think that collaboration, you'll start seeing that. So I think when you look at like kind of that precision medicine versus lifestyle, that's how they're colliding.
That's fascinating. Yes, because like the technology should always adapt to the person and not the other way around. And so I really do see that as being very dignified. One thing I loved at last year's conference I attended was the awards banquet. And I know that you're going to be recognizing people, change makers, who are tackling the staffing crisis through culture. Can you tell us, like, what traits do these leaders share that allows them and shows up as they're not chasing the overtime, but they're really building tech forward teams?
Yeah. So this is by far the best event of our entire year. It makes everything worth it. We have 9 awards that we give out. We have really heavy focused on the person. So we have, our Caregiver of the Year award, or we have Innovators of the Year, Volunteers of the Year, Leaders of the Year, all of those different programs of people. But one of the awards is pretty amazing. That is a connection between, it's an innovation award. Glenn Croft of Modern Aging Benzo's Academy, which is, the foundation, they came in, they were looking for partnerships in senior housing to build preschools and potential kindergartens on campuses of care or senior living campuses to have intergenerational approaches. Glencroft of Modern Aging was one of the first organizations to jump on board. It was a connection made through other business partners, our Ziegler partners. It was at the time Mary Munoz, who has since retired, but she still stayed involved in the program. And they are opening this incredible new program next Thursday, and is their groundbreaking. But those are the types of programs. These are the type of innovation programs. And guess it has. I'm sure there's a lot of technology involved, but the beauty of that program is the humanness of it. Right? It's bringing together these generations, these different communities that you might not have ever expected them to be together. It's like so exciting to see and celebrate. So those are some of the innovations that we talk about at our awards.
It's so exciting. Now, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about coming to the event, registering to the event. How long is it? When is it?
Yeah, thank you so much. So our annual conference is May 27th and May 28th at Wild Horse Pass, which is in Chandler, Wild Horse Pass Resort and Casino. It's in Chandler, Arizona. It is a full 2-day conference starting early on Wednesday morning at 7:30. And both days are jam-packed with a variety of different topics. As I mentioned before, Arizona LeadingAge, our operators span the entire continuum. So we have tracks that kind of meet all of those different types of needs. So it's really if you are not working in senior living, if you have a family member, if you are interested at all, but we are all going to touch older adults at some point, you should come to the conference and you can understand the industry as a whole. Like, you'll just learn so much. There is so much to learn. It is such an evolving, exciting place to be. Anyone should come. It's helpful for anyone at all. But we have a track for anyone, whether you're interested in AI and tech, or sales and marketing, or regulations and legal aspects, home incubation services, lots of programming on brain change and memory care. So many things for everyone. So there's not a whole lot we don't cover. We have architectural design, smart in architectural design that we should be thinking about for the future, and remodeling, and how can you, not just for communities, but your own home and your own space. How do you create a space that's smart and functioning to age in place? These are all conversations that we're having. So there is our registration, I think, is connected here. If you'd like to register, we can. There's links on our website and also on our LinkedIn page. There it is. And we would love for you to join us. It's going to be a really, really powerful 48 hours.
Excellent. Yeah, I can't wait to be there and to give you a big hug in person and to impact the attendees. So Jaime, I just want to thank you for being here with us today. And if there's anything else you'd like to share, please let people know. And yeah.
Oh gosh, no, I'm just, we're very grateful for our Smarter Service partnership. We were early adapters, and we like to be we're flagship supporters. So very grateful for our Smarter Service partnership. And I just want to remind everyone that our membership and our providers that are out there, our business partners, people choose to do this work, to go into the work, to work with older adults. They are literally doing God's work. It is not always easy. It is not always one where you receive a lot of thanks. So, and it just takes a incredibly special human being to do this work. And so if you haven't thanked a caregiver, I guess I would just encourage you to say thank you to anyone that shows up to do this work every day, because we need these folks. They work so hard, and they are incredibly important to our entire society. Not to sound so, histrionic here, but they are so important to the mechanics of how our societies and communities operate. And without them, we wouldn't know how painful it'd be. So thank a caregiver.
Yeah, thank you, caregivers. Thank you, Jamie, for being with us today. And for those of you who chimed in the audience and participated, we're so grateful. And we will see you right back here next week.